Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 447. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez,
Sup, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero,
Yo, yo, yo.
Brett Murdoch,
What's up, people?
and Brian Manjoma.
Brett stories.
Yes. Oh, we're going to get some of them tonight, specifically about Baldur's Gate. You already know how it is. All right, so no Chris action because he needs to finish up some work. So he will have the Sony and Microsoft financial news for you on the Sunday show. So ask him about that. Like, hey, can you tell us about the Sony and Microsoft financials? And Adam is with the family in New York,
Our family.
Man, you ain't over there right now,
I'm not over there, but I will be there.
Yeah, so he's with the family, and I'm going to be seeing both you guys on Saturday, which is cool, So a good time. Did we, we'll talk off here. Like, what are we doing tomorrow, But Saturday's definitely going to happen, so that'll be fun, Hopefully it won't rain like today. Man, nasty.
You got all that torrential, like, hard rain, right? Like we did down here in PA. Yeah.
You want to hear some bullshit too, man? I get to my train stop, right here in Queens Plaza, right? Fucking elevator's out of order because there was so much rain. Like, it just drenched the electronics. So I had to go to fucking, it was not good, Not a good day to be doing all that extra exercise, but it's all good, Anyway, we're back with another one. Interesting week in gaming. The thing we got to talk about is the big one, the game nobody could escape, Baldur's Gate. Now, Brett, I want to go back a little bit to a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago where you were saying that Starfield could potentially challenge Breath of the Wild for Game of the Year. No, I think it's this game. I think Baldur's Gate is going to be the game to beat now.
Bro, like, I can't tell you. I got to take a moment and be thankful because I genuinely had the thought, I think it was last night, where I was like, bro, this is the fourth time this year where I was like, oh, shit, this might be my game of the year. Literally, I want to say it's the fourth time. I'm trying to remember at this point, I'm like, I've been flooded with good games and I'm trying to remember everything that I've fucking been playing. But I just came off Remnant, and I'm like, dude, Remnant is a fucking sleeper hit. I'm trying. What the fuck was I even playing right before that, man? Like, it's all a blur of good games. I'm eating so well. It's amazing.
Yeah,
but this game, especially for a lot of people, is I think is going to be. You see a game like this once a decade, man. You really do. So I think there's a lot of people who are really excited.
I have a question for Brett.
Uh-oh.
Are most of these games that you're talking about that it's like, oh, like this one surpasses this one? Are they all like those isometrical over the top games?
No. Why does everybody think Baldur's Gate is isometric?
No, I'm thinking Remnant 2 and Diablo 4.
No, Diablo is. Remnant isn't.
I thought Remnant was. Could be wrong.
No, Remnant's a third-person shooter.
You're thinking about that other one. You're thinking about that other one, Carlos.
Shooter.
That other Path of Exile. You're thinking about that.
Oh, Path of Exile 2. Yeah.
No, I haven't even gotten to Path of Exile 2. Like, what the fuck has come out this year? I'm trying to even remember now, because there's been several big things.
What did you like Final Fantasy 16, Brett?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
What the fuck else was I playing right at that time, though? What else came around right around? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Hold on, I'll figure this shit out.
Yeah. But anyway, you're the authority on Baldur's Gate 3 because I don't think anybody else in the team's playing it.
Oh, really?
I thought Chris was playing it.
Was he? I don't know. Maybe.
I know he played the old ones.
Okay, so he may be playing. Who knows? Anyway, Brett, continue. Or are you looking up stuff?
I was looking up stuff, but I'm not seeing. I don't want to be distracted. I'll just go off about Baldur's Gate for a minute. Okay, so Baldur's Gate 3 is it's okay. Here's why I think that it's big. At least in a lot of people's eyes. Number one, it is Baldur's Gate number 3. Obviously, it's the one that comes after 1 and 2. But this is like 20+ year franchise, hasn't seen the light of day in like a fucking decade plus, man. Like it's one of those franchises. So like it is coming back from the other side. So that's not just does it have name recognition and nostalgia to it, but it's one of those. It's kind of like when they're like, oh, it's an Elder Scrolls. You're like, oh fuck, it's been a decade. All right. I was beginning to worry they were never going to make another one. So there's that. And you kind of have this Venn diagram that's almost a fucking circle where there's a lot of Larian Studio fans, people who have played Divinity. And Divinity was kind of the spiritual-ish successor to, the previous Baldur's Gate. So much that they wanted to make Baldur's Gate and they were told no, and so they're like, fine, we're just going to go and make Divinity, and they did, and it was so good that they came and went to Larian and said, do you guys want to make Baldur's Gate? So, weird circle of gaming life, I guess. So, like I said, there's I don't want to say there's a lot of crossover, because it's a lot of the same fucking people, but that's another reason it's big. And then finally, it's the game, it does that very unique thing where it just over delivers, where it just gives you so much more and so much freedom that you just don't need. Honestly, it's been guarding. Like, I don't know if you guys have been seeing some of the drama around this. Like, the heat that this has been getting on Twitter. Other developers just firing shots across the bow because they are petty and upset. Honestly, to me, it's been
explain that, because I've heard, I saw some headlines about how like some developers are petty. Is this another Elden Ring situation?
It is another Elden Ring. That's exactly. People are saying like the degree of unnecessary choice is, quote, Rockstar level nonsense. And I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to take away from that, other than you are just, the idea of giving people choices and options is seen as, oh, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Why would you go to all that option?
It's also obvious that they don't understand the difference, because in a Rockstar game, there is no choices. There's only really one ending to a Rockstar game with maybe slight variations. The only choice that you have is to blow everybody up. But the only thing is that there's no what do they call it? No feedback from the actual game. You can go on a total crime spree. You get out of jail and then everything is fine.
Yeah, right? Well, I mean, it's entirely possible too. They're just talking about scope, and they're kind of being very tone deaf, or like you said, not understanding. But even then, like to me, it's really shown like it's kind of opened up this discussion about over delivering, which is kind of what everybody's upset at Larian for kind of doing here. At which point I'm like, we really live in a day and age, like, I swear to God, we live in the darkest timeline. We live in it. I feel like people are upset at Larian for over delivering, because the question had come up, like, is this the new high standard for RPGs? And everybody flipped out and said, no, this is a once in a decade thing. You're never going to see this again. Don't get me wrong.
Well, that can be that's the thing. Like, over delivering, that's it's great, but I can understand the other half of this, where it's like, does that mean that now everybody is going to start expecting this from every single fucking game? Which I don't think I think that's a bad expectation to set. But it's not this game's fault for trying to hit that. Right?
Yeah, okay, but here's the X factor in that conversation. What if you're talking about a level of complexity that just isn't done anymore? It used to be done all the time. So, like, is delivering something now that is of a caliber that things used to be, is that really over delivering? And is expecting that really asking too much? Obviously, we can still make, like, it's kind of brought the discussion back to this tone. Obviously, we can still make games like this. We can still make games with, big scope and choices and respect towards the customer base, not exploitative. They that kind of thing. Very, very, very kind of Witcher vibes. Shit, I lost where I was going with that.
Can I read
Yo,
some
by
of
the
what
way,
this guy had to say? Because I looked it up.
Sure. Yeah.
This is how do you know? I'm not going to bother to pronounce this guy's name. He says this is not a new baseline for RPGs. This is an anomaly. He noted, adding that trying to reach the same bar without the same experience and advantages could kill an entire group of studios. So this is what he cited about this game, some of the anomalies about this game. Because, like you said, people going, "Yo, this is a new standard for RPGs," and this guy's like, "No, we can't use this as a barometer. It's an anomaly." And this is what he has to say. The game had a long development cycle that started in 2017. The two previous games, Divinity and Divinity 2, they gave the studio a worth of tech and institutional knowledge. It had a successful early access period that lasted for 3 years that provided Larian with community feedback, bug hunting, and cash flow. A huge team of over 400 developers across 7 offices, and the license of one of the biggest entertainment IPs, Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. Let's go because I'm feeling fucking feisty about this shit.
Okay,
let's go back.
I know, Brett.
One by one.
Brian, you get your turn too.
I will go back there one by one.
Okay, so let's go one by one. Okay, long development cycle that started in 2017.
It's a 6-year development cycle. That's fucking standard. On the long side of standard, but it's standard. You can't have that. You don't need to produce a game every year. 4 to 6 years is kind of how long a game seems to take to bake, and it's been that way for fucking ever.
Yeah. The next point is that basically they have the experience of making 2, big games before this, so they're not like
they made 2 games that were basically damn near self-published. Like Larian Studios is definitely a bootstrap studio that again got told that they couldn't make Baldur's Gate, and so went and followed their vision and published something that ended up being a crowd favorite, a slow burn, and making the money. But it was by no means a huge endeavor by a AAA company. Larian Studios borders on AA. There's a genuine question floating around, and I can't answer it. Larian Studios AAA? I don't know. They're delivering a AAA product.
They might be now. They might be now.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong. They have 400 employees. But again, that's right on the borderline of they're not huge. Now they are, but before this, they were kind of niche, man. They definitely not an indie studio.
Yeah,
but somewhere kind of floating in the middle.
Yeah. What about the point where he says that they had 3 years of early access to work out all the kinks?
That's a choice. Doing early access and doing it correctly is something that I'm absolutely for. And most companies just decide not utilize that resource. They want to make sure they're afraid of people actually seeing their product, so they don't put it out there, and then they don't get the valuable feedback that comes from early access. You heard me before. I've said it a million times. I'm hugely early access. Develop things with insight and response from the community they're directed at. Literally, you can just look at the people and be like, "Oh, what do you want?" And then when you kind of get it, you can look at it and be like, "What do you guys think of this?" And you taking that feedback and doing that is a choice in good product development, even outside of video games. And you too, big company, can do this at your leisure, but you don't, because you want to sell day one copies and you want to sell pre-orders. You want to get people hyped up over a garbage game that if you show them what you actually have, nobody's going to be fucking excited about.
Yeah, and the last point he made was this is Dungeons and Dragons, it's a big IP.
You also got to realize that they have to pay for that IP. By the way, is not that doesn't just because you have that IP doesn't mean you're going to get guaranteed attention. You still need to flip Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast or whoever owns it some money to do this. So.
Yeah, and if you needed the IP to be successful, then every Dungeons and Dragons game would be successful, which they're not. And Divinity 2 would not have been as successful, even not being tied to D&D and having its own system that they built from the ground up.
Yeah. Brian, you wanted to jump in on this?
Basically, Brett just said everything that I was going to say, because it's just... It seems like the guy is just whining and upset for no reason. Again, as Brett has mentioned, like again, 6 years development. Like we see that all the time. Like how long was the first Horizon game? How long was like God of War? You know, like like the games that we expect take a long time. Take a long time. It's like you can't be annoyed at that. Like again, Cyberpunk was like how many years? You know, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like the guy's just whining for no reason. And the thing that got me was when he said that it's like 400 people and they gained like wealth of knowledge and tech expertise. It's like, so the people that they were working with were good at the job.
Yep.
I can see. I can,
know?
here's the thing. I can see.
How dare you compare us? They're
can
good
see,
at their job.
The one thing though, I can see where the fear is, because this could a balloon into the where somebody did mention the Grand Theft Auto effect, where essentially every single game had to be an open world game. You know what I mean? So now it's like now every game has to have a feedback, feedback loops. Be just as detailed.
Why not?
I could see that becoming an issue. Well, I mean, the thing about it is like not everybody is capable of producing that sort of game. But
Don't have an open world that's not open.
But I feel like, there's open worlds that aren't open. They give the illusion of openness. But I feel like if it becomes a barometer, then it becomes an expectation, and then that becoming an expectation can become very dangerous.
I mean, would you say the same thing about Mass Effect, the original one?
What other Mass Effect games are there? Like Mass Effect games. Nobody's done it.
Well, to be fair, the Dragon Age games were Mass Effect.
There's the same studio. It doesn't make it. It doesn't matter. It's like who's.
But those are also like this game.
No, they're not.
No,
yes, they are.
No, they're nothing like
they're
this game.
not.
You should know better than that, Brett. Like the amount of stuff of feedback that you get from this game to utterly dwarfs whatever Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Oh yeah, no, it is exponentially more, but it definitely still has that vibe check to it, and it definitely it's just this. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think that we should expect this level, because Larian, in my opinion, like, yeah, they're not like the biggest studio, but goddamn, they're talented. If we can just admit, like, hot damn, these people are talented. We probably can't replicate this lightning in a bottle, but the idea of like, hey, should we go back to the idea of like, I don't know, choices that matter instead of just giving us 4 options of saying the same thing in slightly different flavors? One of them being snarky.
I think the thing about it is that it's is essentially how complicated doing something that is. I mean, again, like there's only like Mass Effect comes somewhat close, but like there's also the older games, but they didn't need to deal with everybody talking. So I think like whatever they've obviously cracked the code of creating a branching narrative that is able to take as many shapes as you think you can take. Yeah,
okay, but like let me put Fallout in the crosshairs, since it's one of my most beloved franchises. Like, the degradation of depth in Fallout games is notable and obvious. You end up with those 4 options of saying the same thing, and it wasn't always like that. I do understand the conversation in the sense that I understand both sides. I understand that, look, this is lightning in a bottle made by a hyper talented developed studio. To expect this regularly is just honestly foolish. That being said, I do also feel like the standard for depth has obviously been dumbed down. And, it's seeing something that like kind of brings you back to that old school vibe. Like, oh yeah, shit, you really can just do whatever.
It's most definitely a modern version of whatever those games were before. Because I mean, obviously, previously, because you didn't have to do with all these additional factors, you could make a game that had all these different chains, because all you're really dealing with was with text, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's like you literally things that you could do earlier on in the game or different points of the game can change your whole ending.
Yeah, well, I think Bear Sex pretty much puts a pin in that. Like, for me at least, like, and I think that's why it was a great advertising tool, because you're like, wait, you can do bear sex? I mean, I'm not really interested in the bear sex part, but like I am fascinated by the fact that you can get there. Like, what the fuck else can you do if you can do bear sex? What other horrible, insane things can I get to go on in this game? Because that's also like replay value. Like I'm trying to decide whether like my first playthrough is going to be like kind of roguishly heroic, or if I'm just going to go full evil. I'm pretty sure there's a way that you just give into the dark side. I think that the basic premise of the game,
like normal Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I don't think it's I don't think it's a spoiler to set up the premise of the game, but if so, plug your ears for like 13 seconds. You have a mind flayer parasite inserted into your brain. Okay, end spoiler. And I'm pretty sure that you can like give into it and be like, sure, let's like maybe you can go full mind flayer. I don't fucking know, but we may cause some havoc and find out. I'm looking forward to that havoc causing, and I think that's what a lot of people love so much is they're like, I've been given the option to just fucking do whatever, and I love that, and I would love for more games to have that. Like I said before the show, I got told a story from a guy who told like the review. I was going to pick up the game anyway, but the review that sold me was this. Somebody told me, so I found this woman on the street who had something that I wanted. So I beat her to death with my mace and took it, and then resurrected her, disguised myself, and gaslit her into thinking that I was the person who ran off her attacker and I had saved her, and then extorted her reward from her. 10 out of 10.
Oh my God. That's like ultra levels of gaslighting right there. Holy
that
shit.
Is amazing. That is amazing. Like, yeah, because that now you have this situation where you're like, oh shit, this is just like D&D. Like it's just like D&D, and it kind of captures that mimetic thing of D&D where like people are gonna like tell story. Like any game where you can do this kind of stuff, people end up having stories, and they end up sharing the stories. It becomes like very, very mimetic in nature. Like I've experienced it myself when Rachel was around. Like I'd come home and be like, "What'd you do in Skyrim today?" And she'd go down this whole laundry list about how she was, carving out a mountain and going through a mine, killing a bunch of undead people. And then this woman just started popping off of the mouth, so she punched her in the mouth, and all the guards ran her out of town. And then she met this other person, like. And it would just go on and on. And it was awesome hearing about it because it was very different. Like I could have gone through the same area and a completely different set of things happened. So I'm really looking forward to multiple playthroughs and kind of hearing some more stories about how people get into shenanigans, I guess. I just found out like you can create a magic hand that lets you telepathically do things. Like push people off cliffs, which is fucking hilarious and so satisfying. Just sneaking into the bushes like 40 feet away and being like, ha! And just throwing people off cliffs. It's great. And I'm looking forward to ransacking and stealing and causing all the destruction. Baldur's Gate seems like one of those games where, regardless of game of the year or anything like that, because it definitely has some contenders going with it against it this year. But it almost feels to me like one of those, it should fall into everybody's must play eventually, right? Like it's in there. Everybody should eventually play this game. Yeah. It just kind of feels right.
Real quick here, I want to give a shout out to Logically Dashing David Giltonin, our good friend. He's hanging out in the chat. So he says, game developers complain about Baldur's Gate 3 is so backwards. If anything, these developers should be glad games like this can be made by an independently run studio and be inspired to make a game even better. That's how the game industry has been this entire time until now, it seems. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, even if, because here's the thing, I kind of agree with the sentiment. It's like, yo, we can't expect every game to be like that. Fair enough. But you could try, right? And I think in the trying, you'll make a better product, So, yeah, it's like, no, you don't need to be Baldur's Gate 3 level. But if you're trying to be more ambitious, that's a good thing, Also, in a controlled fashion, because, like Manny said, you don't want every game to be Baldur's Gate 3 ripoff.
But I think that the thing is that I don't think that that level of I'm not compromising. I don't know what you call it, but like that level of adult adult thinking is not everybody in the
Yeah.
game in the
Nuance
gaming
is the word
space.
you're looking for.
People are
Yeah.
like, why isn't the people idiots going onto
Yeah.
the Steam thing? Like, why isn't this an open world game? Because it isn't a fucking open world game. Why isn't why is this game like this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like there is those expectations, and those expectations can essentially damage a game. I mean, I'm not gonna put this up, but like, a game like the Order 1886, there was this whole expectation behind it, right?
Yeah. That the
And all
developers
it
never
was
said
really was
anything. Yeah.
the developers never said any of this stuff. Stuff that was at the point where people wanted like 50,000 hour games. It's like nowhere did they say any of this stuff, but the expectation is what killed that game.
Yeah.
And that-
Where's the
and that
four-player
sort of-
co-op? It's like,
Yeah, where's the
Yeah.
4-player co-op? Where's the online mode? Where's the like all these things? Like, where is the online mode that they used to remember when they put online modes into
Yeah,
classically
the tacked on,
single player
yeah.
games? These are those expectations that can become fucking dangerous. And it's not. I can understand a one section where that guy. I think he has some points, but also he also is a bit harsh on him. But I do think that. In the general zeitgeist of thinking of games, when that becomes the thing, now everybody wants to start to make those sorts of things, and not everybody's going to be as skilled at it as Larian is.
yeah. No, you're right, man. I still think about those days, the days of tacked on multiplayer. Like, I'm sorry, Uncharted, The Last of Us, Tomb Raider, Dead Space, Assassin's Creed did not need to have fucking online in any shape
Mass
or form.
Effect.
Mass Effect, so many of these games. So I agree with that, but yeah, it's like.
But
yeah,
again,
go
like
ahead.
it's nice to see that a modern game is literally harkening back to
the
one
old
of those
school, yeah.
older school games. But I'm hoping that this doesn't become the game industry's margin, where like now everybody's going to want to do these games that have all these different things. Sometimes people just want to tell a linear story or all these other things. So
Yeah.
hopefully it
In
just,
our game,
it
you
just
can fuck a fish. Like, you're gonna see dumb shit like
hopefully
that.
it just means it means that the scope for the type of game becomes a bit wider. Not big studios saying, "Get me one of those."
Well, I think on the plus side to that point, one of the good things is when people kind of compared this game, like how it's over delivering, in their opinion, like one of the things I'm seeing it compared to a lot, weirdly enough, is Elden Ring. So I think that people are focusing on the right idea, that it's not so rudimentary as the type of game, because those two games could not be any different from each other. But the similarity between them is kind of listening to your audience, fan service, over-delivering, quality, lack of exploitative practices, just generally a good kind of relationship with your fan base, leads me to believe that people have picked up on the nuance between those two things, that it's not so much that just that, like, and definitely there will be people to be like, okay, so people just want a really big game where you can fuck whatever you want. There definitely will be those people, but the fact that Elden Ring is even looped into the conversation kind of, at least to me, makes me feel like, okay, so people are seeing the points there, the over-delivering, the fan service, the quality control, like the lack of microtransactions. Oh, people fucking love that shit. So I have hope, I guess, is the short answer.
I will also say this: it is always the indie space that does them. As much as people don't, some people don't like the indie space. That is the space where a lot of advancement always happens. So, what is it? What is it here?
Yeah, that's the function the indie space serves. That's
these
its function.
these guys essentially already went through the weeds and figured out how they could do something like this, and they essentially just like, all right. Well, now we got now we're cool enough to make an actual fucking Dungeons and Dragons game, unlike the last time.
And actually, one thing I want to throw out there to everybody who's been paranoid about giant acquisitions and everything like that, like just to prove that that's not the way that the real world works. Larian was actually on the short list to be acquired by Microsoft, and Microsoft never actually approached them. But when the news broke that they were on the short list, they made the response of, "We're very flattered, but we would never be interested in doing that. We're interested in kind of citing our own way and creating an experience more tailored towards a customer experience than profit and efficiency," which, yeah, like goes along with, yeah, you can do that in the indie space. That's fucking awesome. But also kind of shows like even in a world where Microsoft had all the money and we're trying to buy everybody, there's still studios out there who are just gonna say no. They're gonna do their own thing. It's kind of impossible for one company to gobble up all of it. It's more of a question of ratios. So just throwing that out there because I thought that was pretty cool, pretty big of them. Like, yeah, we're gonna do our own thing. We're gonna release crazy ass product driven or value driven games. And if anybody's interested in cutting us a giant check, I'm not ready to retire yet. Dude, good guy Larians. All right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
At least for now.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add about the Baldur's Gate?
Well, just one of the things about what the guy said that irks me really badly is the idea that developers can't make games for gamers anymore is what I took from the statement. It's like he got really upset that this was a game that was targeted at a certain audience, and the fact that they had like a 3 year of early access.
Yeah.
It shows that these guys cared about input from the people that play the games, and I don't know how you could be upset about that, because again, these are the people that buy the games, so surely you'd want to get the approval of people that buy your product so that you can sell it to them better. No, I don't know. It just irks me that he would say something that would just say, "Hey, you know what? Not that they won't, but he had an issue with them doing that." And like, hey, no, these are your audience. Like, you talk to your audience, right? You don't just make a game for who you think might like it. You make a game for who you know will like it. Or am I just thinking something?
It was just thinly veiled,
Yeah.
feelings of threat.
Well,
let's be honest. It's just honestly, it's that guy who did the job so much better than you that it makes you look bad. Now you're like, well, that's not fair because Tim cleaned the shop real well, but Tim's new and he doesn't have a bad back to take the trash out. Blah 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 blah. Like, it's just one of those fucking situations. I've seen it a million times. You can't just be like, good job, you're very talented, I'm impressed. We could all technically probably take a lesson from your success in this endeavor. Thumbs up. Have some fucking grace. Instead, you're just going to get on the internet and be fucking petty, because that's what Twitter's for, apparently.
Carlos, you going to say something?
Excuse me, X.
X, Jesus.
Do we know which developer this dude worked for, or which studio he worked for?
Let me look at his bio.
In fairness, wasn't just this one guy.
He runs Strange Scaffold. That's the name of the studio.
Okay, because my line of thinking of what I can see where he might be coming from is a little bit of.
Oh shit! He's from El Paso, like you, son.
Oh,
he's coming. Watch what you say, man.
So
that makes it your responsibility.
Yep.
It looks like this is a mega small indie studio that this dude is from. So my line of thinking, I
have more followers than the studio does. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So there we go. So my line of thinking is, whoever this dude is conversing with about this game is people telling him, "Oh, why can't you make a game like this?" And this dude has the budget of $2,000, and meanwhile, Baldur's Gate 3 probably has over $100 million budget for the game. So, I can see it from that perspective. You still need to give the game its flowers for being a great game, but if people come at you, and I'm not saying that this happened, but this is just a scenario that I could try to think that could be the possibility of why this dude retaliated, is people trying to make him say like, "Oh, why can't every studio do this?" It's like, well,
That's a good point. It's like, yeah, it's like people go, yo, man, why don't you make a game like that? It's like, I can't, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm giving it all she's got, Captain.
Yeah, I'm giving it all she's
Yeah.
not coming. I cannot give it any more.
You know, there's nothing worse than people having expectations and essentially wrongly judging your work because they have something in their head.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Isn't
with
that-
that
isn't
Manny
that
knows
just
that
the
with
case?
art.
Yeah, it's the case with literally. It's the case with anime. It's the case with movies, and like it's the case of like when the Matrix came out, I'd be like, well, why can't every movie be the Matrix? Like, oh, trust me, they're gonna try, but you can't. It
Can't compete.
It's just not something that you
That's-
can do every time.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, regardless of the medium or whatever project it is, the ones that really shine are like, well, why can't everyone do this? Like, well, the ones that really seem to do a great job seem to really have a vision for what they want to do and a kind of love and connection with their audience and a willingness to try and do their best and do better as they go along. Like, the secret sauce really just seems to be effort, feedback, and grace. But that's a really tough thing for like a company with shareholders to fucking do. Because somewhere along the lines they're like, but what if we do microtransactions?
Oh God.
Right? Like how like the problem kind of becomes like in a company run by shareholders, how do you push the idea of like, let's make less money? That is incomprehensible.
The thing about it is that like when it comes to those places like that, you have to talk to them money, right? And what things do they know? They know that microtransactions and subscriptions make money. So
Money.
that's why you end up in situations where you have
Yeah. What do you mean no? Why do you want to make less money?
Additional microtransactions on top of everything. You know, it sucks, but at the same time, it's like, okay, now apparently not releasing a game is not enough anymore, right? You have to have a microtransaction strategy.
Yeah, and it looks like, you know, Larian Studios is in that zone of developer where they're big enough to do a AAA caliber game, but they're also independent, and they're also European, just like CD Projekt Red.
Uh-oh.
You know, it seems like there's a lot of these types of studios that are like at this caliber, where they still have a lot of integrity in a lot of ways that they develop games, instead of just being the big publishers, the EAs, the Ubisofts, the Activisions, the Sonys, and the Microsofts.
Let's hope the same thing doesn't happen to them that happened to CD Projekt Red, where the allure of going public, you know, fucks them over.
Oh, I mean, eventually it's going to have them and From Software. Like one of them is going to go down. They're going to go down hard because I think they're like the only two companies a lot of people really trust anymore.
Oh,
Well,
man.
I mean,
But-
here's the thing: like From Software, in general, has always been a functioning company. Even when they weren't making those cornerstone games, they were still making games and surviving. So obviously, they know how to do it. But you know, these guys, like, you know, obviously, you know, From Software, I don't think they're publicly traded. I think they've kept everything pretty close to the chest. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe the trick isn't becoming so huge that, you know, you can't see what you're doing anymore. So who knows?
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
I mean, I think
Okay.
for Larian, it's just not being publicly traded. Like I can't say enough. Like it must be much easier to do the stuff you want when you don't have that board of directors to come back at you, where you're not expected to make record-breaking profit every single year because that shit's impossible. It's maybe the secret is just independent companies, larger independent companies.
Well, we see it. You've seen it this year. A bunch of supposedly big companies, essentially, you know, dropping all their people because they haven't reached their numbers. You know.
Yeah. Unfortunately. All right. Let's move on. Got a couple other things to talk about. So Red Dead Redemption is getting ported to the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, and it's going to cost $50.
Just straightforward. Like, that's a great segue, because I just want to point out this motherfucker is about the same price as Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Just think about that let it sink in, and then be offended.
And yeah,
Tony, you mentioned PS4.
PS4, yes.
No, not even just a straight up PS5 port.
Nope, just PS4. And
I
this
mean,
is a
it runs
port.
on-
It's not remastered or nothing.
It runs on a 5, so I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's just running. To be honest, I'm sure they just took whatever
Check this out.
latest version, right?
It doesn't have the. By the way, speaking about tacked on multiplayer, this one had a tacked on multiplayer as well. Yeah. So it doesn't have the multiplayer. Doesn't have 60 frames a second.
That's
my question is, like, why doesn't it have 60 frames? Like, that seems weird because, like, it's one of those things, like, you should be able to just. That is one of those things where you can just kind of crank it up.
Who's developing this port? It better not be Grove Street Games.
No,
again.
it's not. Thankfully, it's not. I don't know who it is, but it's not them. I know that. We were debating that on the team. We're like, yo, are those motherfuckers doing it?
I mean, straight up, if you're keeping the same resolution and the same graphical settings, but upgrading your hardware, you should be able to get a frame rate boost. Unless you have it artificially locked, which would be the weirdest fucking decision I have ever heard of.
There's some games that chain frame rate to certain other factors, and there may be the fact that them upping the frame rate may end up making the game run like faster or slower.
Yeah. I think that was a bug in Dark Souls 2 that caused and it just popped up with like weapon durability, like frame rate. Weapon durability they just happened to tie it to frame rate, and so when you went like 60 frames, like the weapons just disintegrated like you were playing Zelda.
Yeah. So so you get the original game and the DLC for it. So maybe that's how they're like, quote unquote, justifying the price.
I don't need to justify it. It's Rockstar. They give you, they toss you breadcrumbs and you'll fucking like it.
Yeah. They did come out with a statement explaining that it's like priced correctly or some shit like that.
What do you mean? Like it's priced correctly? So wait, the people who are selling the thing came out, took a good hard look at that, and went, yeah, nope, that's good. Like, we've investigated ourselves and found ourselves to be under no fault kind of vibes.
Let's see. Take-Two CEO says Red Dead Redemption port is pricing is commercially accurate.
Yeah,
that's a term I've never heard before.
Yeah, we looked at it and decided, yeah, that's right. Eat a dick.
Yeah, so that's what we believe is the commercially accurate price for it.
Yeah, that I don't even. There's not even a. Man, they're not even trying. They're just saying, yeah, we think we can get that juice out of the squeeze. All they're I'm just baffled by the blankness of that statement, to be real honest with you, man.
I've never heard anything like that before. Commercially accurate.
Are people angry about the price? Because $50 doesn't sound.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they're pissed off.
Really, over $50?
Yep.
For how long?
Because the game 10 years old.
Yeah, it's a 10-year-old game with like not even a bit of a spit chime.
It's a 10-year-old game.
Actually, I think it's older than that.
Oh, it's definitely older than 10.
It's an over 10-year-old game that had redevelopment. Even if it isn't, they still needed to do porting, even if it is just a weak port. But then again, look at what Rockstar does.
It's 14 years.
Yeah, so it's a 14-year-old game with a port that at least lets it run on modern hardware, which also probably means they're probably using like the x86 version, which is like the Xbox version, right?
Modern hardware?
Modern
Switch, yeah. PS4.
Okay.
Wait, Tony. It runs if that Switch runs a Red Dead Redemption, theoretically it can run Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I thought about that, but
completely different games.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like most of Red Dead Redemption is just barren wasteland. There's nothing there. There's no dense buildings or anything like that, you know.
Well, no, the world is a lot larger than Grand Theft Auto.
It is, but it's not as dense as
and
Grand Theft Auto.
And the fidelity of the characters are larger, are higher than there. I don't mean it doesn't. Not to mention. There's also more draw distance more draw distance than there would be in that Grand Theft Auto game.
Yeah, remember Grand Theft Auto this game is older than Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the other one version. Okay, no, you're right.
Yeah, we're talking about Red Dead 1 here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Red Dead 1.
I thought you were talking about the previous Grand Theft Auto game.
No. Like, because people were saying
Nico Bellic one.
No. People were saying that GTA 5 is coming to the Switch. They, remember I fucking, why is my camera all fucked up? But yeah, people, that's why I got in a tizzy with this Nintendo fans. But I'm like, yeah, you can't port the first game because there's nothing in the fucking world. It's just deserts and a couple of huts. There's one city.
I mean, it's still. Here's the thing: is with some configure, it can be done. It's essentially trying to make it run on a PS3, but it would need a lot of work.
Yeah, it would need a lot of work.
More work than Rockstar would ever decide to put into it.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is easy. There's nothing in the game, But like, look what's happening now. They're not putting any effort into this. It's just straight port.
A huge basis of what makes GTA 5 is the online portion, and they sure as hell aren't going to work that out.
You could probably get the single player version of GTA 5 on Switch, which I did say, but that online component, hell no.
No, their internet infrastructure is not even can't even handle that.
Yeah, I'm man, fuck Rockstar. That's all I got to say. I'm tired.
Here's the thing, to be honest, it makes sense for Rockstar to do it this way, with very little effort. Any one of their porting efforts previously have really never been anything. Like Grand Theft Auto 3. What was that? The previous to other games that they did. Vice City and San Andreas, weak ports. So now, it still makes the same sort of sense. How much were they selling those 3 Grand Theft Auto games for? It was probably for $60, right?
I'm not sure. I could look it up.
It was close. It was either standard price or close to it.
Yeah. So it is Rockstar, and to be honest, anything that made all the things that people enjoyed about Rockstar right now. I don't think really exist anymore. The Hauser brothers, the guys who originally created Grand Theft Auto, they're all gone. So now it's just this soulless company.
That's what I said about when we had this discussion a couple of months ago, where it's like people are expecting, GTA 6 is gonna suck because of all this fucking woke shit, and I'm like, it's not the same people who've made the previous game, so you can't even expect them to be as good. And this fucking company. Fuck Rockstar, because they release a game per generation. It's like they make plenty of fucking money to make more than one game per generation, and they decide not to because they're fucking sucking on that teat of the fucking GTA microtransaction well, and it's freaking bullshit. They're not the same studio they once were, and they're just milking this. We're about to be in the 10-year anniversary of GTA. And before that, we got a GTA every couple of years.
Yeah, you're right. We are about to hit it this fall. Yeah. Shit.
Don't forget to buy your shark card.
Okay. All right. I want to move on to because it's still Rockstar related. But GTA 5, so Segway Kings right here. It has sold 185 million copies. It sold 5 million copies alone in the last quarter. Some games that are brand new can't even sell that many. Fucking insane, So this game is still selling.
Still around.
What happened, Brett?
This is why Fortnite is still around.
Yeah, right. Jesus, so how do we?
Well, essentially, at a certain point, you just become the default, and you just ride that shit out.
Yep, it's being a part of the part. It is part of the zeitgeist. It is that forbidden game. It's got everything going for it. So they could, and you talk about that. Oh shit!
They sold 5 billion copies without even trying.
Exactly.
Yeah, because all their friends are
and-
playing.
Yeah, so yeah, at this point, like they don't officially need to make anything else. And to be honest, they what are they doing? Isn't this thing coming out for the next gen consoles too? If it hasn't already, right?
Jesus, did we get that port yet? Remember, that was the first thing we saw with the PS5 reveal. The GTA 5
Yep.
was coming. Did we even get that shit?
Yeah,
Oh God.
it's out.
It's out. Okay, finally. You know, when did it come out, Brian? Did it come out this year?
I have no idea. I stopped caring. The question that I want to ask is the same question I've been asking for like the last 8 years. Who's still buying this game?
Yeah. Again, like I always
Again.
said,
Again.
someone turns 16 every day, man.
Well, no. I mean, 16 or 20 something.
No, it's 16. You know the fucking parents are buying this fucking game. Remember
buying
Manny
it,
at the bank? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Why my kid gotta like that game? Why are you buying it for him?
Yeah, why are you buying it for him? Anyway, yeah, like to be honest, like as long as it still has the it still stays attractive and they continue to make new content for it, it's now it's a service,
Yeah. Yeah, games as a service. There you go. Thank you, Grand Theft Auto.
That's why they're not making their next one. They know they can't rebuild. They
It's
can't do
probably
it again.
And they totally hoped that Red Dead Redemption was going to be that thing. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Even that game has sold 55 million copies,
Yep.
Which is
Not for the
insane.
online.
Yeah, not for
Not
the
for the
online.
online.
They bought it for, people are buying for what they really wanted, 55 billion is still fucking crazy,
Dude, I love that they built a comprehensive, crazy online mode, and they're like, this is going to be the next thing. This is going to pass the torch from Grand Theft Auto because we've got too many rocket cars. We're just going to take it back to Cowboys and make it all 6 shooters that cost $1. And then everybody logged in, and it was like, okay, so basically everybody's just spawn camping the one town and murdering each other in the most outlawish fashion possible, which feels very GTA, but it doesn't bode in this world. It just doesn't. So, like, my options are then to like, okay, cool, I'm going to go hang out in the desert. Nothing happened. Like, it just didn't transition well. By that I mean it transitioned laughably poorly.
Yeah, I knew that was going to just fail. It's not the same thing. You can't just have, like you said, fucking rocket-powered trains or some shit in that game, It just wouldn't work. Like, GTA, you just go fucking nuts. It didn't matter. Here's one thing about this report that I found weird. Rockstar expects to launch 52 titles through fiscal year 2026. How? What 52 games?
No.
A bunch of their old games.
Yeah.
Are they including expansions to GTA?
I guess. I don't get it, They said a couple of big launch games coming out are Star Wars Hunters. I didn't know they had Star Wars games.
They did.
Yeah, Top Troops, both coming from Zynga. The Hunters game will feature battles across the iconic world of Star Wars. Okay, so they got some Star Wars shit coming.
Is this mobile games or some shit?
Probably. Who knows?
Well, no, the Star Wars game was supposed to be a AAA game.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, it says Star Wars from Zynga. Isn't Zynga a mobile developer?
Yeah, they are. I guess it is a mobile game.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah. So, okay, you know what? That answers my question. That's how you got 52 games. They're fucking just probably mobile bullshit.
Whoa.
Investment games.
That makes complete, like, has Rockstar just turned into a mobile developer who happens to have a successful AAA console title? Because that would explain so much.
I don't know. Are most of their games mobile games?
I mean, if they're releasing 52 of them this year.
Oh, not this year. Through the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026.
Did they also say? Did also the thing is that Rockstar is not the company; it's Take Two.
Take Two,
Take Two. Is this Take Two that said this, or is it Rockstar?
This is Take Two. Take Two.
Yeah, so this is so it's not Rockstar. Rockstar is not.
But Take Two. What 52 games? The point still stands.
Bullshit mobile games.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, man. Yeah, Take Two. But yeah, so yeah, Grand Theft Auto keeps selling. There you go. Another thing from that same report that came out, this line right here. Take-Two will experience a, quote, significant inflection point and, quote, record levels of performance in fiscal 2025, which is April 2024 through March 2025, and people think that means that that's when GTA 6 is going to launch. That they're going to have like a big boost in revenue.
They're really saying like we plan to be super successful at this time. You're like, the fuck kind of statement is that? Hit an inflection point like oh, just you wait until tomorrow when I burst into high gear. The fuck do you mean by that?
So yeah, people are just speculating Grand Theft Auto 6 that it's going to launch in that window.
No, it's actually going to be Agent.
It's going to be Agent. Bring it back or bring it. Period. You know. So yeah, we'll see.
I mean, we would find out like this. Like, here's the thing: we will probably know about GTA 6 from investor meetings before we actually get introduced to GTA 6.
Yeah. Well, remember those the like pre-alpha footage that dropped and stuff. So the game's definitely being worked on. You know, gamers were like judging it and shit. Like, this pre-alpha, guys. This is not the final build. Relax. Why does it look like a PS3 game? It's not fucking done. You know?
Because it's been shelved for 8 years.
Yeah, right. All right. If for anybody that cares, remember the whole Apple versus Epic battle? So the U.S. Supreme Court sides with Apple. So they get to charge 30%. So there you go.
No.
So that's the end of that for anybody that cared. This shit happened so long ago, you know?
Didn't Epic have to pay someone did. I maybe I'm thinking of a different story, but someone had to pay like $300 million or something like that.
I don't even know. Let me read this story real quick. This is from Pocket Gamer. Epic Games has been dealt a fresh blow in its ongoing battle with Apple regarding the latter's app store practices, reports Reuters. Epic and Apple have been at loggerheads. This must be some British shit. Epic and Apple have been at odds since 2020, when Epic attempted to circumvent Apple's 30% commission fee on in-app purchases by offering Fortnite's in-game currency V-Bucks at a discount on its site. As a result, Apple removed Fortnite from the App Store, kicking off a lengthy legal battle between the two companies. We've covered this before. The battle came to a head in April of this year when a California court found in Apple's favor in the majority of cases, but ordered it to allow developers to implement in-app purchases outside of the Apple Store. Both companies appealed to this ruling, with Apple filing for an injunction with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals last month to give it time to prepare its case. Epic appealed against this injunction with the Supreme Court, but liberal Justice Elena Kagan yesterday denied Epic's request to overrule the Court of Appeals' decision, leaving Apple able to contest and potentially escape the ruling from April. All right, so looks like Apple was going to get away. Does anybody think Apple was going to lose? No fucking way, you know?
No.
Like, you knew Apple was going to
win. Not with their lawyers now.
Yeah, you knew Apple was going to win this shit, you know? So it apparently says the core reasoning for Apple's injunction is that, in its opinion, that the court had overreached its decision to apply the ruling for one specific case to the entire app ecosystem, and that this could cause harm to consumers. No, they just wanted to keep charging, developers money. That's what, they wanted their piece of the pie.
Epic is also not the only one to be able to have this. If you notice all of your Apple device, your applications don't actually have transactions that
they don't.
That within the apps, they actually lead you to a website where a lot of the applications are essentially like web browsers.
Yeah, now, I noticed that when I try to buy like comics from the Comixology app, it's like I can't do it from the actual app.
Yeah, you got what it does is it either
but on Android online, I can, Yeah,
what it does is essentially throws you off onto it either opens a website within itself and it does it that way, or it sends you to a website.
Yeah. Pretty interesting. So there you go, Apple won. No surprise there. I did have a story about Call of Duty here because I think they teased another one, but Adam's not here, so whatever.
What's the tease? It's coming.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 3.
Oh, it's coming out.
But weren't they supposed to have like another game? Because wasn't Modern Warfare 2 the last one? Carlos?
Yes, Modern Warfare 2 was the last one, and By the way, I do have Adam's quick, really brief thoughts on this.
What's up?
So from from Adam Vale himself, all the way from New York City, more proof. And he posted a link of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and he said, "More proof. This is a cash grab and not a new Call of Duty experience."
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with
he's
Adam
not too fond of it. But I will say this.
It's different this year. It's different.
Well, I'll get to that. Adam, I'm pretty sure now that he's in the Microsoft bandwagon with Call of Duty, he's gonna hate on all those Call of Duty games until it's actually under the Microsoft umbrella. Once it's under the Microsoft umbrella, we'll go back to this is it. No, this is going to change everything. This is where they're going to have
this is the year.
This is the Call of Duty that changes all Call of Duties.
Oh man.
But so far he is not fond of this. And neither am I. I'm tired of fucking Modern Warfare. It's like
time to go to the Vietnam War. Wait, no.
Oh, they did
Korean
that
War.
already, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
They're definitely not going to go to space because that backfired.
Oh man.
Because Call of Duty Modern Warfare is the only one right now. That and Black Ops are the only ones that are grabbing people's attention. If you go back in time, it doesn't make as much money. But if you go forward in time, it definitely won't make as much money. So
shit. One thing I find weird because wasn't there like a good couple of years between the new Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2? Like there was a good couple of years between them, right?
Well, I think it was just a year because it was because remember that it's different studios that made the games. I think it was Modern Warfare came out in 2007, and I think World at War came out in 2008.
No, I'm talking about the new ones, the remaster.
Oh, the new ones.
Yeah, the new ones. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple. I think a few years in between.
Yeah, so that's why I find this one weird because there's no gap. It's just here you go next year. Modern Warfare 2 came out. Yeah, it came out last year, and then the first one, 2019. Yeah, so there were it was like a good 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So
milking.
I don't know why. Yep. Because one of the other cash cows is the Warzone.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that they promote. This is Modern Warfare and Warzone.
Yo, Torrance Davis, the Warzone.
The Warzone.
It's the Warzone. It's the Warzone. Kotaku, go talk shit.
Go talk shit. Weren't they talking shit this week too?
Well, I don't know.
They probably were.
Shout out to Jagun and Dirty Bird Phoenix.
Yeah, right. All right, we're done. That's else happened, man. So what games have we been playing? I'm gonna start with Brian this week. Brian, what have you been playing lately?
Nothing. Again, finished. I say finished, quote unquote. I reached the end of the story in Extra Primal. I just had like an hour left to play, so whatever. The final boss fight was actually quite nice. It was like a larger raid, took like half an hour to actually get done, and people died a few times. People were actually playing quite well, and there was strategy, but for some odd reason, people don't know what the hell the B logo looks like. I mean, at one point towards the end, there were like 4 points A, B, C, and D, and you had like capture them and hold them for like 2 minutes, and then you get something that can destroy the boss, basically. And I think in total there were like 10 of us, and 7 went to A, and then me and this other guy went to B. And I was like, really, guys? Like, it should be 5 on 5 on each place. Come on. But yeah, so people don't know how to objective properly in that game. But yeah, the final boss fight was really good, but it's definitely not worth slogging through all that nonsense just for that boss fight. But so yeah, also, but because I finished that, I'm now able to access the end game, which are the full-on raids at the end. So they come out, I think, every Friday to Monday. So I get to try that this weekend, and let's see how that goes. But apart from that, I've not been playing anything, just been reading stuff. So yeah, sorry.
Cool. Brett, are you playing anything other than Baldur's Gate right now?
Yeah, I'm still playing Remnant 2.
Ah, nice. How's that treating you?
Yo, game's amazing. Everybody needs to play it. It's so fucking gorgeous. Like, is this what Unreal 5 has in store for us? Just a whole bunch of this? Because if so, yes. I generally don't care about shinier games, but damn, the shit's shiny.
Fair enough. And can I safely speak for me, Manny, and Carlos and say we're not playing anything?
I did play a little. I did
Yo,
play
man, you
a
playing
little
games?
something. I did play a little something. I actually turned on Gravity Rush not long ago. Just messing around with it, and I found something pretty interesting. So there's this grave that with a guitar in it that is inside of this one park in the game, and it's interesting. And I did some research into it, and apparently it is a memorial for the environment designer for the game. He worked on what was it? Siren, The Puppeteer, and Gravity Rush.
Okay.
And that grave, apparently on the 10th of every month, it blooms. So normally you just see the grave sitting there normally, but when the 10th hits, it blooms for some reason. It's either his birthday or it's the day that he passed away. So it's interesting. It also has a little memorial on there too in Japanese. It's the only readable thing in that game, by the way, because they have that kind of funky language in there. But yeah, it's interesting.
That's kind of cool. You know?
Yep.
But so on Sunday, Chris will be here to give us some financials. So that should be fun. You guys are always into that stuff.
Yes. So make sure to ask that question.
Yes, make sure to
Guys.
ask that question. Yeah, and we'll probably have a new Throwdown interviews for you next week. We will start making that happen now. The plans, and that'll be good. Plans. All right. Do we have anything to plug around here?
No, I Am Negan is still on hiatus.
Yeah, no plugs. All right, so no plugs from us this week. When does I Am Negan return?
I Am Negan should return when the Daryl Dixon show comes back, and that is on September 10th.
Okay, shit, we got a whole month.
Well, it's a month away.
It's a month away. A month without I Am Negan, but once Daryl Dixon comes back, we should be full steam.
Daryl Dixon. All right, people, we're done here. So make sure you follow us on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You can also find us on any podcast app by searching for Throwdown Show. That's 2 words, Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to previous episodes. And if you have been watching us on YouTube and enjoyed the video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
He's out.
Brett Murdoch.
I need to finish Baldur's Gate so I can get to Armored Core, so I can finish that before Starfield, so I can get to Spider-Man,
So you can get to Baldur's Gate on PS5.
Oh, man. And, of course, Mr. Brian Manjoma.
Yeah, for those guys that are out in Hawaii, I think it is, or near that area, just watch out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The place I lived in Hawaii burned down. I am so incredibly sad about all of this.
Oh, man. That's upsetting, man.
It's just gone. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, guy. Like, that is the pretty much worst thing I've heard in a good little while. And we live in this timeline in 2013, so that says something.
Yeah, right. Shit. All right, people. We'll see you on Sunday, man. Later.
Peace.
Laters.
Peace.